Good morning, good afternoon, good night. Welcome to another scene for Living World of Darkness, Camarilla and Anarch venue. Tonight we find ourselves once again inside the Warrens, where a coterie meeting has been called for Invictus. Levy to Lady Selena Whitaker's invitation. Sorry, Chris, that's very distracting. Levy to Lady Selena Whitaker's invitation. The professor has come and collected Miss Barnett. They are on their way to this private room where the coterie are going to have their meeting. And he's sort of dressed as he is in his overlay, and he's fiddling around with something in his coat pocket. But he looks a little bit excited by the prospect of a coterie meeting.
Nikki is, she's smiling, but she's a little bit nervous. She's obviously never been in a coterie before, but she's excited about the prospect of helping more, especially now that they're in this situation. She's dressed in one of her outfits that she grabbed from her house, which is a long black skirt and a gray top that has sleeves that come to about 3/4 of the way down her arm, so they're 3/4 sleeved, and it's kind of low cut, but not too low cut. It's kind of a dressy top with some black flats that she's wearing.
Don't worry about me, secret to me shit. So yeah, awesome. So Arthur is not doing anything sneaky. He is being perfectly normal, and he escorts. He doesn't really. He just sort of smiles to her. You can tell that she's a little bit nervous. He just says, "Hey, nothing to worry about. Just smile and be yourself, I guess."
She smiles at that and gives a nervous giggle.
He will walk into the room and sort of stand there looking at like sort of. There are chairs there, but he doesn't sit down. There's enough chairs for everyone, but he doesn't sit down yet. He sort of stands astride one of the chairs and looks at the door.
A little while after they've arrived, Tina would make her way in. Is Sam with her?
Yes.
Yeah. Then they would come in and they're just chatting quietly as they make their way in. And as soon as Selena sees them, her face would brighten. She'd smile. "Darlings, I'm so glad you could come this evening. And Nikki, fantastic to see you, darling. Look, beautiful as always. Please do come sit down." And she goes and takes a seat. She's wearing one of her usual designer dresses, as the style tends to dictate. It has a very high slit at one side, showing a bit of leg, but not too much. She has very expensive heels, and she's looking her usual wonderful self. And she makes herself comfortable in one of the seats and then looks around with everyone. "So, what are we scheming about this evening?"
Sam is just kind of staring intently, smiling like a fiend.
Arthur pointedly waits for everyone else to sit down before he will. And when Selena walks in, he does sort of like bow at the waist towards her, even though she's, there seems to be no status here anymore. He seems to give her due respect.
She would smile and nod to him. "Arthur, darling, you are such a gent."
My dear friends, he says, finally taking his seat, flaring out the frock coat slightly as he sits down. I do believe that whilst we are in the midst of a chaotic interlude in our time in the city, there is time to pause and collect ourselves. We are all still living. He does sort of little air quotes. We're all still living, and as such, we should make ourselves known and come together to plan some ideas on how to solve our current situation. I know the war coterie is making their own ways, but I feel that we have much to contribute in the manner of dealing with our several plethora of issues.
I've tracked down a captain of the local Harlem Police Department who seems to be in league with our mutual foes. I've been trying to get to him, but it's been a task so far. Apparently my proxies are not as talented as I expected them to be. He seems a little bit frustrated at that notion, as if he's kind of personally insulted by their failure. I can give you his name. Maybe you'll have better luck tracking him down than me.
Arthur takes out a leather notepad and a gold pen and sort of looks at Spillane.
He'll give you the name because I can't remember OC, and that is in part because they keep changing their name.
he writes it down and then slides the...
You write down 3 names and the writing just morphs every week into a new name.
He writes down a mysterious name, puts it in his pocket.
Aye. According to reports, he was there after the attack at Ghost Far went down. He was registered to be a ghoul. Other than that, I've set up a feeding ground. It's not exactly Verac, but it'll do for now. I was wondering if anyone else would have a means to do something similar.
Yes, well... He indicates his hand to Nikki as she starts to speak.
Well, no, I don't have any sort of area like that, but I have the means and the know-how to store blood should we need to.
Mm-hmm. I also have a method, I believe, of storing blood. It's just a matter of working out how to get it in large enough quantity to supply our needs.
Well, if it wasn't going to be too suspicious, I'd say we could just hold like a blood drive or something, but I think that might attract the wrong kind of attention.
Indeed, I think the spat would be watching that very carefully. However, I do believe that in a fix, animal blood may be sufficient for the time being. I know it's not ideal, but
I can get quite a bit of that from the hospital that I work at.
I know that animal blood isn't sustenance enough for us to sustain on a long time, but on low reserves, in an emergency, it may be required. But we do need a more permanent solution. And I feel that short of freeing up some space, or finding a different hunting ground. We're running out of options here.
My idea was to open up lots of little pockets so it would not attract too much attention. You don't have one massive feeding ground that tends to attract a lot of individuals that may not have our best interests at heart.
What about trying to get some influence in a hospital on the outskirts of the city? Somewhere that's about focusing on.
We reached Gwendolyn's hospital, but I'm not sure if it's about actually know it was an area of influence for her. I do need to check that by the end of the week, but I think we're pretty secure. They haven't retaken the hospital, so I don't think they suspect anything yet. She may be able to help us when it comes to her gathering supplies of blood and storing it. Raven, you are super robot-y. You can't really hear you. I'm so sorry.
I'll be right back.
This shaking intensifies. Sam decides to focus on Nikki because she looked like shit, so I want to say.
Yeah, Nikki's just like, she looks a little frustrated, and she just says, now I almost wish that I would have been a doctor for people instead of animals.
I do fear that I had the same thought about myself. Yeah, if only I could stop tinkering with things and actually dedicate myself to a true science. But hindsight is 20/20.
Of course. I grew up loving animals, so that's what I chose to do for a living. Had I known I was going to end up like this, I might have decided to go for humans instead.
But how grateful we are that you did end up like this.
She blushes a little bit at that, and smiles and kind of lowers her head. Yeah, well, I'm sure that my medical knowledge will still come in handy. Of course, I know human anatomy, and I know how to get blood from veins and things like that, so.
He nods, sort of smiling. Your temporary feeding location, Mr. Splain. It's an evening house, is it not?
That's one way to put it. He smiles. He seems to like the term evening house. It sounds so classy and upper crust.
Arthur smiles. He just says, yes, a novel idea, but I do feel that too many of us could not go there at once without it causing a little bit of attention. But it's well struck. You get the feeling that Arthur probably would have said brothel or whorehouse if Selena and Nikki hadn't been present.
He understands, he agrees, it's totally a brothel, that's what he calls it all the time. Sam's little secrets. Well, as I said, I'm intending to open up more pockets, the air quotes. First to go out and find ourselves a nice meal. But it's been a task just opening up one, especially with the attention we've been gathering. Honestly, I would have devoted all my attention to taking out the Italians already if I wasn't paralyzed on the ground.
I think perhaps the easiest place is, I mean, the Sabbat will be focusing perhaps on the bars and nightclubs, but more secretive places where people go to socialize may be an easier method of forming a temporary rack. I do believe that there are certain locations where people go discreetly to engage with others. Not just your evening house, but evening houses of a different ilk.
He seems to kind of consider this. He has his fingers, temples, and he's kind of tapping against his head. You notice his foot is tapping slightly.
People with different tastes, other than the standard fare.
I'm just going to roll intelligence because I'm totally blanking on this. Intelligence, what? Empathy, I guess? What the hell is this motherfucker talking about?
You get that he's talking about gay clubs or BDSM clubs.
Oh. Shamir and I got that BDSM.
He's not going to say that because of how character is.
Right, we could give that a shot. I'm just itching to find a way to hit out its bad influence, but I'm not seeing a method right now. Not without an opening to that goal. The police are the main problem.
Yes.
And the judiciary. I'm working on getting more friends in that area, but I only just started a couple of months ago. I got a base, but it's not exactly the mayor. Seems to grit his teeth and his jaw kind of moves side to side.
Do you know the wonderful thing about this country, Mr. Spillane? Rather than our native homes, is that it focuses so much on its media circus. A important political or upstanding moral figure, such as a police chief or lieutenant or officer, can be brought to his knees by a whispered word in the wrong circles. Whilst our Sabbat enemies move in different ways than we do, they still need the mortal ties to keep their influence afloat. I think perhaps a intelligent move, perhaps cultivating Miss O'Connor's grasp on the media may be an effective way to stop some of the influence in its tracks.
I've been intending for her to join the coterie, but I decided to run it by you guys first. Don't want to bring someone in who ain't trusted, but from what I've seen, Gwendolyn has proven herself time and again.
Not. Can you guys?
No, it's still roboty, hun.
Still roboty for some reason.
Try on your phone using 4G. Yeah. But I can't pretend that I am a master of influence. Not like some people that have been established in the city for a long time, but I am well aware of how scandal works in a political climate, such as the tense political climate we enter at the moment. Perhaps, he says, sort of taking his pipe out of his inside pocket and tapping it on his lips before lighting it. Perhaps we could kill two birds with one stone.
Right, what you thinking?
I will start making some inquiries into some places where we might find underground societies, such as the gay community and the like. And perhaps in these meetings, I might meet somebody who'd be willing to tell a tale for some gain of their own.
Interesting. I'd say it's worth a shot. Don't want to go full pelt too quickly, though, otherwise it might garner some attention that we don't want.
Oh, don't worry, Mr. Spillane. I'm a man of subtle measures. He smiles.
Sam smiles back because he knows he's just making a point. I trusted to get the job done. I'll continue trying to expand my own influences into the legal areas of the city. That's what I can do there. I'll see what I can do about a certain Sabat pack that our master harpies has shown quite a bit of concern over. Have you heard him talk about the name Earl Wellington?
No.
He's well, him and his pack are quite enthusiastic Sabat members back in Europe, but have now moved here. Not exactly subtle, they're a bunch of butchers and have a predilection for housing themselves in such abandoned areas. But they are quite dangerous on a direct confrontation. And they have been making themselves known here.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I believe I met such an individual retaking the hospital. It was over the speaker. He probably exited before we could get to the top of the building. Makes sense, there was only one pack there. You would have probably needed two to take down that building. Or at least hold everyone in one place.
Arthur puffs on his pipe thoughtfully. Can you hear us now, Raven?
Yeah, I'm getting most of it.
Okay.
Yeah!
And we can hear you. Yay!
Yay, thanks.
My internet's
Arthur
messing with
says.
me.
Arthur looks to Nikki and says, "Miss Barnett, if you would kindly look into getting us some backup reserves of blood from the animal hospital that we can use in emergencies."
Yes, of course. I will get on that. If I, take some here and there, I can make some stuff up on where it's going. They won't really notice too much.
Sam, like everyone else is like generally pleased with animal blood, but obviously he generally doesn't seem to care too much. As being a vendor, he can't use it. So he doesn't seem like unsatisfied, but he's kind of like, yeah, good, yay. The very monotone is in like bare minimum of approval.
Yeah, well, Arthur doesn't know that in character, so.
Yeah, no, he's not being a dick about it. He just seems fairly like doesn't seem like he doesn't talk much about it. Stuff like that.
Yeah, no one wants to use the animal blood, but Arthur's not too keen on the idea of drinking animal blood either himself. However, it's better than everyone hunger frenzying on each other.
Oh, yay.
Arthur looks to Selena.
Selena has appeared a little distracted throughout the meeting, as if her mind's on something else. And she kind of looks up as if she's been almost like daydreaming. And says, sorry, Arthur, darling, you were saying?
Oh, we're just talking about blood. But I understand that at the moment you have a great deal on your mind.
Yes, darling, I apologize. It's very me. I've been asked to do something that I suspect may be quite challenging, but something I must do nonetheless. And actually, she kind of shrugs and smiles to herself. What am I doing? I can speak freely. You're my coterie mates. I can trust you. I have been asked to locate our former prince's wife, a lady of my own clan by the name of Maria. An elder of my clan, in fact.
Wow.
I've been asked to locate her and attempt to bring her back to somewhere safer than where she no doubt is at the moment.
Nikki nods.
Interesting. Is it just Maria? Does she have a last name? Do you have a photo?
Out of character, I can't remember what her surname was, but yeah, Selena would give her surname and description of her. She's an incredibly famous Toreador elder.
Okay.
Interesting.
Well,
very interesting.
Perhaps I can give you a little something to help protect you on your way, Lady Whitaker.
She smiles and raises an eyebrow, questioning me.
He reaches into his pocket of his jacket and pulls out what at first looks like a rose. It looks like a real rose. It's gold with the very hint of red around the tips. It looks almost like it's real. I've been instructed by Amachan to say that it is probably the most beautiful wooden rose you've ever seen in your life. And when he pulls it out fully, you see that it's crafted to look like a wooden rose, but it's thicker than a wooden rose would be. And the base is thick and pointed like a stake.
She takes the item and kind of turns it in her hands and runs her fingers over the fine craft work. And it takes quite a bit of time just studying it, just absorbing its beauty. And then eventually she kind of just looks up at him and Selena doesn't often look kind of, the word childlike does not apply to her very often, but in this case, she's got this almost childlike kind of look of wonder on her face. And she just says to him, darling, it's stunning. It's a piece of art. Thank you. I'm not sure what to say. Thank you so much.
Arthur smiles. As she inspects it, she'll see that it says it's inscribed in it. It says Selena's Thorn. For every rose has its thorn.
She runs a thumb over where that's written and just she looks up at him again and says, I shall use it responsibly, darling. I promise you. And there's a little bit of a mischievous smile on her face when she says that, but then she kind of gets serious again and says, but you have my thanks.
I hope that in time I can create something for each of us to use in self-defense against our enemies.
I look forward to a time when we can merely appreciate the beauty of your work instead of the troubling business of actually having to use them. You are an absolute artist, darling. My clan would have been honoured to have had you. It is our loss.
I'm going to make a roll.
Aww, does that make Arthur sad?
I passed my roll. You see him, his expression changes very slightly. But he manages to keep hold of his demure smile. As that is a very, very high compliment where he stands. But he manages to keep hold of his demureness. And he just bows his head.
And Selena just goes back to studying this rose, just like touching every petal and going over the finery of it. She's clearly delighted with her gift. As she dreams about pushing it into Jasmine's heart. No, sorry.
Man, where did that come from? Nah, did I just say that out loud? Wow.
I believe we all have things we need to be doing, I guess.
Selena looks up and nods absently. Yes, I have phone calls to make and inquiries to begin.
I will set about my tasks and hope to hear from Miss O'Connor soon to join us in our next meeting.
Thank you all for letting me help and be involved, and I'll work on getting our backup blood supply.
I'll work on tracking down this errant pack and see if I can get anywhere closer to this preschool.
And I'll work on getting us a backup feeding place. I guess I'm going to have to go undercover, he says, sort of doing a sort of Vogue motion over his face in an attempt to make a joke.
Just an invisible hood over himself.
Yeah.
Nikki smiles.
And then he will stand up.
Sam will rise with him and will offer a hand to Lady Selena.
She will grasp the rose tightly in one hand and then take Sam's with her other hand and stand. And then kind of look to the other two. It has been delightful, as always. And again, Arthur, thank you. And then she kind of, she can't help herself. She kind of puts it in front of Sam and says, did you see it? Did you see how perfect it is?
Sam tries to... I'll have him roll for it. He's a pretty elegant fella. I mean,
It is a 10 success woodcraft item, which is I'm told is pretty fucking awesome.
pretty ridiculous. Yeah, unfortunately, I rolled a bunch of 3s and a 2, but fortunately, I'm using my voice, so the difficulty is -2 anyway. Wow, that is the worst roll I've ever had in a while.
It's like, oh my god, that's awesome, dude.
He can't
Instead of
really.
saying something eloquent.
He muffles like a light chuckle. That's really it. And I'll just say, yes, of course, fine work. Fine work indeed. He's trying not to be sarcastic because he isn't. He just doesn't see the same level of beauty in it that Selena does for obvious reasons. But he just seems to appreciate it. Hey, looks mighty fine.
She appears
He
satisfied.
seems more interested in the pointy end.
She's just delighted to be looking at it. She's got a new toy. She's happy.
Aww. Sam finds this adorable.
Arthur looks like he's waiting for Selena and Spillane to walk out first for some reason.
Yeah, you'll escort Selena out of the building. Get them back to them.
Not for any reason in particular, but he's not particularly subtle about this. He just sort of stands there and just sort of waits for them to leave.
Presumably they're walking away as Selena is kind of bawling over this awesome-looking badass steak.
Yeah, she'd be, as they walked away, she'd be jabbering away like a million miles an hour to Sam about the perfection of the petals and how it's such a lifelike replication of a rose and how fantastic it is and how talented Arthur must be to have replicated such a beautiful thing in wood. And she'd just be jabbering about all of that as they walk away.
Yeah, Sam listens to about 20% of that.
Well, Arthur waits for them to leave, and then he sort of turns to Nikki. Well,
she looks at him. She's not sure what to expect, I suppose.
He looks kind of awkward. He puts his hands in his pockets, and then he comes out with something very small. In comparison to Selena's rose, it's probably like a fifth of the size, and he sort of hands it over to Nikki.
She takes it and inspects it, whatever the object is.
It's a small wooden carving of a cat.
She smiles and she looks at it and she kind of runs her finger over it, almost petting it.
I thought you might be missing your pets.
This is wow.
By the way, it's nowhere near as beautiful as Selena's thing. It's just
I'm sure it's not. She still very much appreciates the gesture. So to her, it's probably the most beautiful thing she's ever seen. But she's still, it's the thoughtfulness of it. Thank you, Arthur. Wow. That was very thoughtful of you to do this for me. And she smiles, and she's blushing.
He almost looks like he's like gonna scuff his shoe along the floor, like how awkwardly kids do. But he fiddles with his tie and he straightens up and he goes, "Well, I thought about smuggling a kitten down here, but I didn't think that it would be appropriate among hungry vampires."
No, and there are several among us that don't exactly care for cats after recent events. I don't really want to see Lucius put a bottle through another cat's eye.
Yes. Well, I think I have a gay sauna to attend. He smokes.
Yes. Thank you again for this. She actually does have her bag with her, and she reaches in and she pulls out 2 of the blood bags that she has. These not gonna last much longer, so yeah, you can have these. It's human.
He takes it sort of carefully. No, he takes the handkerchief out of his pocket, and then takes the blood bags.
They're very cold because they're thawing. They were frozen.
Thank you. I will see that these are properly attended to before I leave.
She nods and smiles rather awkwardly and grabs her stuff, and she doesn't quite run out, but she walks very quickly as if she's just very anxious and nervous because she's, yeah. So she heads back to the living quarters area, I suppose, where her makeshift bed is.
And Arthur will head in the opposite direction as he's going to see the Regent before he goes out. So that'll be the moment we end the scene. Thank you, players, for playing. Thank you, watchers, for watching. And until next time.